Today's video is about negative attention because it's a big theme that all fire creation beings have to deal with in their lives. As a fire creation being, having gone through the MK Ultra programs, you are often programmed to be resonant with negative attention. Generally, it does surround um, a fire creation being. It is what the program is sending to them. Some of this negative attention, a lot of us have been mistaking it or are still mistaking these signs of negative attention for signs of friendship. This is due to cognitive dissonance, where, you know, there is a degree of denial in how you are reading your reality, right? It usually is tied to a lack of discernment and mind control being active. So something that comes with negative attention is also, you have the love bombing compliments or signs of appreciation that are kind of interested, that have a hidden agenda. And this is tying, of course, to the negative attention that handlers are providing here for you in the game. They are usually quite skilled at plugging in right into your wound of non-recognition. Um, you might feel like you belong, like you've finally found somewhere, a community or a mentor. And generally with time, your programming is going to dissolve and break down. And that's when you are leaving states of cognitive dissonance, and you are finally able to see outside of psychic oaks what you are really dealing with in your reality. Of course, there is a lot of plugging to our core wounds, to our broken self-esteem. That's how it works here. That's how this system is built, and this system runs extensively on negative attention. This is one of the most widespread matrix technique that all of us have to be dealing with on an everyday basis. Now, the body avatar is programmed a certain way, that there are many things that really plugs into your avatar that creates a full sense of an addiction. And it's very difficult to overcome because it does feel so real. It is the same for beta sex kitten programming. It is so like the body is programmed to respond a certain way. There is a lot of programming having taken place, so there is a lot to master, not to go on automatic rail and to believe that these reactions are truth. So if you are fire creation, you've been generally walking from handling energies to other handling energies. And generally, the game is gonna kind of propose to you the upgraded versions of what you just overcame, like, the previous handling method that were kind of used to keep you contained, because that's what handling is about, is to keep you smaller and to handle your time, to handle your energy. And it's a great distraction, in fact. So here you are generally very deprived from positive attention. It's discouraged. True bonds are discouraged here. There are generally many attempts to divide anything that spiral upwards to something greater. Now it's a game realm where there is a great percentage of engineering in the life of fire creation beings, and therefore the engineering is not going to propose to you what is serving you, but what is not serving you, right? So that's where you find a lot of the negative attention coming into the game, right? And this often comes with baits and a lot of hidden agendas hiding in the background of what's really happening. Now, generally, we are so very wounded in our self-esteem. It's also due to the programs. It cannot just be explained by, the surface level of your childhood. You know, if you look how fire creations are struggling, it's way bigger than that. It's linked to other realms, other experiences we are having, and we don't always remember, right? So that explains a lot of why certain times are extremely difficult, and it's hard to put your finger on what's really, really going on. They also, I mean, the game engineer also are developing a lot of new programming and new techniques as we are working on our deprogramming process. And of course, that creates more difficulties for us in the game, and that makes it more challenging, because we never know what they are gonna come up with the next day. So that's also why it's really important to remember, and it's encouraged to forget that we're only sure of having this second, this moment, this day, this hour. So it does feel great when you can make the best out of this. When you lived your day, you moved through many layers and you felt like you arrived somewhere, and you kept your goals in mind, and it felt really good. But of course, this is heavily discouraged, for you to forget even what's important for you, to forget the cause that you are really thriving for, and it just feels like it's drifting away, kind of suddenly out of your grip, and you really have to resist with your spirit to come and grab it, and remember consciously and making the effort. And even sometimes if it's at the last minute of your day, you feel you've been drifting away for a few hours, it's never too late to have like a little wake up call, and kind of make the best of even 30 minutes. There is a lot we can do in even 30 minutes of concentration. And if you build on that, if you get these 30 minutes of concentration every day, you can really make progress. And then it's another question to know if you be able to focus or not, because of course there are a lot of exterior factors. They have always been, and they will always be, but there is also a lot of internal programming to overcome to be able to make the best out of these 30 minutes. Something extremely kind of distorted is, this, I am worthy of this negative attention. This is a belief that is really anchored in us, and you might feel it running in the background, or if you get an increase in targeting, you get the next game level of targeting and harassing. If you feel proud, or if you feel pride, when you discover you're worthy of being targeted, it's kind of twisted, right? You realize that it's really twisted in the way it plays on your self-esteem, and there are really some twisted thing that this reality has given birth to. So the matrix is built on surrounding you with negative attention. If you're witnessed, for example, by your spiritless person, right, a bot, an automatically generated artificial intelligence being, it doesn't really have a lot of value. You're not really being witnessed by anything. You're not really sharing anything. It's just It's just a simulated being that is there projected to make you feel like you're experiencing something real, but you might as well be alone in that moment, right? It doesn't have a lot of value. It is mainly of synthetic value if you believe it's true, at least for the exchange that is taking place. Now, this game is designed to make you addicted to drama and to program you to seek negative attention, to go after your handlers yourself. There is a lot of programming alter system programmed in us. There is a lot of thought injection. There is a lot of seed dreaming. There is a lot of seeding in your consciousness. And we mistake this for our own thoughts, sometimes in our own decisions, if we are not actively training on dissolving or programming. Now, the programming can be extremely strong. For example, report to your handler. You can have this strong urge and desire to write to a handler, and you know they are a handler, but you just want to tell them this because you discover that about themselves. But if you, like me, know about this kind of programming, it's not the first time that it kind of erupted, and you can really be smarter, not to go with that programming, because it's generally not going to lead you in great places. So a lot of programming geared towards negativity has been installed through repetition and repetition in the programs in our daytime reality. That's been heavily programmed in these directions. This game is designed to keep the reals isolated from each other, and especially from the real healers. And it is also designed to keep you isolated from envisioning what is possible for you in your reality. And that is one of the reasons why we accept a lot of negative attention, because sometimes that is all that is offered to us in the game for weeks and days. And sometimes we are bored to death, or we prefer that than, no exterior attention at all. And no exterior attention can be also confronting. That's where your pattern will also reveal. Are you someone who is projecting a lot, deflecting a lot the energy? And then your own wounding is gonna kind of kick in and distort your whole perception. So that's interesting to experiment, especially if it's been happening repetitively in the past, So especially if that is one of your patterns. Now, we're also extremely programmed to seek negative attention from the spiritless, right? We look for them for validation, we look for them in the hope they will mirror back to us a positive image of us, that they would validate us, that they would encourage us. But obviously it's the wrong place to be looking. And even if you have worked on your discernment, the spiritless templates are kind of always around. And even if you know about this and you recognize the trigger and it's intentional, you know how it's designed, how it's triggered, yet it's still going to trigger you even in the subtext that you will be perceiving. Because there is always this kind of negative feedback about yourself hiding in the background. Of course, the matrix is not going to give you a positive feedback. Of course, we cannot expect a positive feedback coming from the simulation, bringing encouragement. We really have to build this from inside, and also with other spirited beings who are able to reflect that true image, if they are also working on walking towards their own greatness. As long as we have not recovered sufficient discernment, we are also very programmed to be receptive to the negative attention from the backdrops. It will never be positive. There will always be some slight triggering. It's always a distraction. Now we can reflect on why we have some attention-seeking behaviors, looking for any type of attention and therefore welcoming negative types of attention. The root of attention-seeking is usually, being insecure. It's the root cause of why we need that attention, right? It is about some insecurity in our self-esteem. Self-esteem issues are involved usually, and the reason of that insecurity is also linked to the MK Ultra programs and the profound forgetting here. And even if you work on remembering who you are, it's wiped every day, every night. So you really need to hold on to it to really remember it on an everyday basis. Now, the more you remember, the less you will need validation from the exterior. On the public scene, we find a lot of handlers who are, attention seekers or creating this kind of debate, generating a lot of energy. I think about Kanye West or Jordan Peterson. This is a little bit how it works for them. And if you kind of scratch more, you will perceive layers of how they are being used and puppeted on the public scene. And more attention can bring more business sometimes. You find a lot of control beings who are ruled by their dark ego, and therefore it makes them very vulnerable to be used by the dark factions. Now, some others have made a room for them on the scene by offending or shocking public sensibilities. And this has kind of encouraged their rise to fame as well. So that's how it goes, reaction, like engendering strong reaction. This is how our life goes if we don't pay attention to these strong reactions that we are sometimes also feeling. Now, some handlers will give you attention, yet it is going to be the negative type of attention. They will be using some seduction methods that are going to pull you out away from your core path. It will reinforce your programming. I'm only special as I'm receiving negative attention. It will kind of activate that programming. And you will quickly notice that when that attention goes away, you might feel like you are no longer special to anyone, and that this kind of attention didn't really have like a healing frequency to it. It was more on the side of usury. Some main quite powerful handlers might be sending you a lot of saboteurs, a lot of negative attention, a lot of trap clients, for example. They might be saying a few words about the appreciation they have for you, but they also might be puppeted by Dark ET faction to link to you with the covert aim to handle you and engineer further your life. Now, I do think on social media, it's important to filter a great deal of comments, interaction. I've been regularly going to clean the negative attention and the love bombing comments on my pages. Sometimes I've gone back years to do so, because time would have revealed like what I was really dealing with. And nowadays it's more immediate, that I feel if something is appropriate for me to give attention to or interact with. I mean, there has been some progress, clearly. So it happened to me that I stopped interaction because I was feeling the degree of evil that was hiding, or that the frequency was just not truth. And I knew there was a covert agenda. I didn't always know what was the covert agenda about, but I knew it wasn't seated in healing and truth. There was a past handler of mine as well, who had a trace of spirit, but was not really spirited, and was not really in command of how he was leading his life. He was very used on the scene, on the French-speaking scene. And I could feel that in his offer to share my work with his network, there was something fishy about it. And when going through his workshop, I never met really someone who was real. So I don't know which kind of attention this offer would have brought to me if I had accepted it. I actually had quite a few handlers, either friend handlers or public figure handlers, who've been sharing my work since 2018. You know, whether unconsciously and unknowingly, they were instructed to do so by their own handlers or their own programming. This has been leading to more handling coming my way, and being engineered around me. And of course, if I hadn't paid attention, it would have led to more agreements that come to be signed as well as a proposition. I remember in my past, in my teenage years, I mean, this is an age very sensitive also to negative attention, things like jealousy, like, you know, this kind of possessive love as well. All of that are negative attention behaviors. It's not really the kind of benevolent attention we need to truly remember and heal. Sometimes even with beings who are empty, they can also be programmed towards negative attention. They can welcome abuse in their own life they can welcome abuse in their own life, and they can be really surrounded by saboteurs. You can also find some really shattered being, fragmented fire creation beings who are themselves sensitive, so welcoming a lot of negative attention in their life, but also seeking that negative attention, like trying to bring you in that victim savior dynamic, which is very toxic and unhealthy to be in. This can also be caused by you know, them not really understanding their alters and really going towards a path of self-destruction, you know, even attempting making you know, suicide attempt or things like that. But you can feel that, but you cannot really go there with them, because you are feeling that is very toxic, the dynamic they're trying to set into place and the programming they're trying to activate in you. Now you can have spirited pets that are also programmed to negative attention, seeking it, and you don't really understand why they are doing this, a little bit like children would do. For some pets, you will also feel that they are really corded to dark forces. They have contracts, they are easily triggered. They can be very mind controlled as well. You have to see if there is a spirit and if you can work with that spirit. You will often notice that you have an increase of negative attention in the game as you are progressing in your levels. Sometimes negative attention comes in series, so you will receive like a series of 3 proposition and then, silence. If you are fire creation, ideally, every month you should be saying no to a lot of the engineering and the negative attention coming your way and recognize it for what it is, right? In the frequency it holds. And sometimes, you might accept it for a little while before being entirely sure of what you are really dealing with, and that's okay. Generally, the feedback we are getting from Matrix, from the engineered and the engineered operation, from the spiritless, from handlers, is not a great feedback. It's not a feedback that's going to support us. And I mean, we know where we are and what are the rules we have remembered, so it's not really a surprise. And I do think that in the silence of what we are building, in the small choices that we are making, something stronger is growing, and that is very valuable and can never really be bought either.